Hey BeautyFix babes, I'm Rosetta, registered nurse here at Larchmont. You can also find me in Flatiron. Today we're going to be talking about the differences between surgical BBLs and non-surgical BBLs. So what are Brazilian butt lifts and which one is the best one for you? So what is a BBL? A Brazilian butt lift is a procedure that can enhance the way that the buttocks looks. There are two types of Brazilian butt lifts. So the first one is surgical, which would require an actual surgeon, and there's usually general anesthesia or IV sedation that's required. So you're going under, so to speak. The surgical BBL usually requires a lot more downtime. There's usually months of recovery that is required and extensive post-op. So what is a liquid BBL? Non-surgical BBLs usually require the use of fillers. Here at BeautyFix, we offer Renuva, which is autologous fat transfer. It's injectable fat that's created synthetically. And then there is Sculptra, which is polyalactic acid that builds collagen. And then there's Radiesse, which is an injectable calcium implant that we hyperdilute. We've made other videos on this channel about those three products, so if you want a further breakdown, please look out for those videos as well. So ultimately, choosing a non-surgical BBL over a surgical BBL comes down to your own personal choice. Things that need to be considered are recovery. Do you have the time? Are you a medical candidate? There is clearance that needs to be required. So some people, like myself, for example, who would die to have a BBL, is just simply not a candidate. I don't have enough fat. Another consideration when considering non-surgical BBL is actual results. Non-surgical BBL is usually something that we recommend is done in sessions. That each session will result in very subtle results, but you can build upon them. Something to note, however, that I do tell patients that get surgical BBLs that sometime down the road they may want to consider a non-surgical BBL as an adjunct treatment, is that all of the fat that is transferred is not necessarily going to stay. So sometimes surgeons will over-inject fat into that area because the body will reject some of it. There's usually a certain percentage, depending on how much fat is transferred, that the body will keep, and the rest of it will go down eventually. So a wonderful thing about non-surgical BBL when considered with surgical BBL is that non-surgical BBL can correct those losses that happen once you've recovered from your surgical BBL. With both procedures, you really want to consider diet, exercise, and a healthy lifestyle. Specifically though, with the surgical BBL, it's important to maintain a healthy diet and a balanced exercise routine because you're shifting around fat cells in the body where the fat is usually transferred from. So for example, if I had a BBL and I removed the fat from my stomach and had it transferred to my hips, it would be likely that I would now gain weight in areas away from my stomach, which if is not watched carefully, that could result in is that other parts of my body where I typically wouldn't gain weight, I will now start to gain weight, which can create a disproportionate look in the body overall. So quick sum up of what we talked about today. What's the difference between non-surgical and surgical BBL? Surgical BBL usually requires actual surgery, general anesthesia, a plastic surgeon. Non-surgical BBL is used with fillers that we offer here in the office, and any of our registered nurses, physician's assistants are able to help you in office. Some things to consider is recovery time, pre-op care, post-op care. There's a lot more downtime and recovery required when you're doing a surgical BBL versus a non-surgical BBL. Another thing is results. How much of a drastic change are we looking for when we're considering the two options? If you're considering doing this one and done and you want a very drastic change, a surgical BBL would be a lot better suited for you. If this is something that you want done slowly over time, you don't want to have to incur all of that downtime of recovering and restriction, then a non-surgical BBL would be better suited for you. It's something that you would do in sessions and steps. You have more control over your results because you can see how the body changes as you inject it. With the surgical BBL, yes, you'll have more of a drastic overall change, but it may be too much or not enough. Whereas with a non-surgical BBL, you're a lot more in control. There's a lot more autonomy because you can see it little by little change over time. Another thing to consider when we're talking about the two, the difference is your own personal lifestyle. Is this something you're going to want to upkeep? Again, with surgical BBL, there's so much recovery. There's the use of your faja, massages. It's a major commitment. Whereas non-surgical BBL is like a game of long ball. It's just something that you do over time that requires maintenance. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them here in the comments, and don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe. You can also find us on Instagram at BeautyFix MedSpa, and at any time you can call any of our offices and get a free consultation. Okay, I love you. Bye-bye.